Thank you, Asher, for your leadership. I also want to take a moment to thank Eugene Wong, who's joining us on violin tonight. This is Elon's dad, and if you've noticed some extra beauty in our worship, I think it's coming from this direction tonight. So, emails went out, announcements were made, and I promised you an amazing concert tonight. I did, and I said, the incredible Lapidus and Miles, they are coming, and they are going to revolutionize the way that we sing and think about social action and social justice.
From sunny Atlanta, right?
From sunny Atlanta, Rabbi. Thank you. And so, with no further ado, here are Lapidus and Miles. In all seriousness, they are bereft. They actually woke up very early this morning, probably around 2 or 3 a.m., to try to make a 7 a.m. flight, which means they were at the airport as early as 5 or 5:30 this morning, and delay after delay after delay. In fact, on the right behind them, you can see the list of the canceled flights out of Atlanta because of the storm. So they are deeply sorry to not be here to lead in worship and in a concert tonight. However, I am awaiting, as I am not a halachic Jew, a phone call from Micah that says we are on a plane, Cantor, and we are coming, hopefully, God willing, for Minyan in the morning, and God willing, for our religious school on Sunday. So prayers toward Atlanta that they figure out how to de-ice a plane. And in the interim, I had an opportunity to reflect a little bit on current events as well as what was on my heart this week coming into Shabbat. So I hope you'll stick with me as I share a few words. I was a young girl, no more than 6, sitting in the passenger seat of my parents' 1980s gold Volvo station wagon. These were the days, of course, when 6-year-olds were allowed to sit in the front seat. I remember the scent of the warm leather seats, the sights of the Maryland suburbs whirring by the cracked window, and I recall the sounds coming through the speakers of the dashboard's cassette player. It went zip when it moved and bop when it stopped and whirr when it stood still. I never knew just what it was, and I guess I never will. I was transfixed. What was this marvelous toy? How could I get my hands on one? Who was behind the magical trio of voices that made a story of wonder and imagination come to life right before my very ears? My love affair with the sounds of Peter, Paul, and Mary likely began when I was in utero. My parents would spin, that's a record for those younger. My parents would spin Peter, Paul, and Mommy in the Wind, album 1700, before I was even born. And as I began to discover an early love of music, it was to the sounds of No Easy Walk to Freedom, Leaving on a Jet Plane, Puff the Magic Dragon, Weave Me the Sunshine, that helped me come alive. I remember feeling proud that Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary was Jewish. Every Hanukkah in our household was illuminated with rousing renditions of Light One Candle. My first live concert was one of theirs. Peter, Paul, and Mary are, in many ways, a part of my history, and I would guess, in many ways, they are of yours too. Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary, who ultimately succumbed to a battle with bladder cancer, leaves behind a legacy of hope and a promise to seek out justice through activism and music. In 1963, another personal favorite, Harry Belafonte approached Peter, Paul, and Mary to ask if they would sing for the March on Washington. On the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, they sang Pete Seeger's If I Had a Hammer and Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind to advocate for civil and economic rights for African Americans. They bore witness to Martin Luther King Jr. as he delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech, knowing the power of the history they witnessed as it unfolded before their eyes. Time and again, Peter, Paul, and Mary stood by the changemakers, the seekers of social justice, of peace, of humanity, of harmony. Yarrow expressed that what America's genius is, that we can change, and it can come from the people. Admittedly, Yarrow leaves a complicated legacy, which should not be forgotten nor overlooked. Yet his message for freedom and goodness for all persists. Perhaps coincidentally, I'll let you decide, this week's Torah portion, Vayechi, which means, and he lived, details the death of a man with a complicated past. Jacob, on his deathbed, draws his sons and grandsons close, imparting final fortunes to each. Some sons receive blessings, others receive foreboding messages of the future, but all are brought to Jacob's bedside to ensure a promise of his legacy. Both Yarrow's passing and the reading of Jacob's death reflect on the culmination of a life dedicated to guiding and inspiring others. Jacob's blessings to his descendants aimed to shape the future of the Israelite tribes, ensuring the continuity of his values and faith. Similarly, Yarrow's music and activism left an indelible mark on society, promoting messages of peace, justice, and unity. As complicated as his life was, we still honor the music that Yarrow contributed to the American canon. And as we close this chapter, both of Yarrow's life and close the chapter on the book of Genesis, let us also open our hearts to the challenge they leave us, to continue their work in the ways that resonate with our own lives. Like Jacob's children, we inherit the call to build a more just and compassionate world. Like the generations who sang along to Blowin' in the Wind, and If I Had a Hammer, we inherit a vision of what could be. A world united by justice, love, and harmony. I think I just heard someone say, are we going to sing? What do you think? I beg of you, please sing with me. Now I just want to note, Peter Yarrow did not write this song. I am fully aware these are words of Bob Dylan's. However, Peter, Paul, and Mary did make this song famous, so we owe it to them for bringing this beautiful message to us. It surely lives on. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? And how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer